Good day, children. Today I am going to teach you the poem Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. In the present scenario, I am very sure that you all will resonate very well with this poem. Earth is more calmer and cleaner now, birds are chirping, skies are blue, families are bonding, and humanity is coming together in these moments of crisis. Pablo Neruda also must have experienced such kind of moments 101 years ago during the spread of the pandemic Spanish influenza. Pablo Neruda, 1904 to 1973, was a Nobel Prize winner, a Chilean poet, politician, and diplomat. Looking at his lifespan, children, I feel in his life he had an experience of two world wars, and perhaps this is one of the reasons why he is such an advocate of peace and goodwill in the world. So, you see, children, how all these things are correlated in this unified world. We are all zipping across life in a bad hurry, inflicting harm on animals, environment, and above all, we are inflicting harm on ourselves. We have erected the barriers of caste, creed, religion, nationalities, and whatnot. And we are keen on fulfilling our selfish goals all the time. To drown the noise of this clamoring world in a great reflection, I think, is a birthright of every human being. The title itself is very suggestive. Keeping quiet means silence, peace, meditation, harmony, healing, introspection, self actualization, etc. etc. Now, all these phrases will unfold as I read the lines of the poem. Here it goes. Now we will count to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. So the poet says, I will count to 12 and you all be silent. Now, 12 is a number selected by the poet. Maybe we have 12 hours on the clock, or maybe because of the 12 zodiac signs, or maybe the number appealed to the poet for certain reasons. So, whatever the reasons, he says, just keep still. And for once means that never ever on the earth it has happened. We people are never quiet, we are never still. So, once on the face of the earth, let's not speak any language. Let's not speak any language means let us not speak in any language. People of all the culture, all the nationalities, they should be quiet, because language often is a cause of misunderstanding among the people, and many of our things are tackled very well with the help of silence. As one of the great person has said that silence is the most powerful language of the world. So silence is a remedy for many things. So he says, let us not speak in any language and let us not move our arms so much. Here, arms, what does arms is a pun, children? Pun means the poet has used, we can think about it in different ways. One way is saying that arms are the physical arms. Let's not move our arms so much. That means let us not do any activity. Let us stop every kind of activity. Another thing is the poet may be hinting that the arms of the soldiers marching, because that was a time of wars and that was a time of colonization of the world and all that. So he might have meant the arms of the soldiers marching, or he might have meant about the arms and emanations of the world. So he says, let us stop every movement of the arms, whatever he means or whatever is our interpretation, and we should pause. And what would happen in that pause? That pause would be an exotic movement. Now, what do you mean by exotic movement? That moment of pausing and calmness would be extraordinary beautiful, because in that pause, there will be no rush, there would be no engines. Like right now, you can see in the atmosphere, there's so much of stillness, and we don't hear any vehicles moving or any different types of sounds coming from the atmosphere. And he says, so it will be a strange moment. Strange moment, why? Because it has never happened before. And sudden, because all of a sudden we'll be caught by this silence. Now, like we all are caught up in this lockdown very suddenly. We had never thought that we would experience such kind of conditions in our life, maybe. So it's a once in a lifetime moment for most of us. And see, children, in these lines, the poet has used repetition. Without rush, without engines is a repetition. And poet has used alliteration in sudden strangeness. So he says this moment would be very exotic. And what would happen? Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and men gathering salt would look at the hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. So he says, what would happen if we live in this exotic moment? Fishermen will stop hunting the whales. Now, here, fishermen is synonym for other people also, not only fishermen, but everybody will stop the destruction. Destruction which we are causing to the animals, destruction we are causing to the environment. And it's not necessarily whales, but all other creatures of the earth. So we will stop all destruction to the animal life. And children, whenever I hear about animal destruction or destruction to the environment, one person, Philip Wallen, an Australian philanthropist, his name comes to my mind. And he had given a very powerful speech on this killing of animals. So, children, you can also listen to it on YouTube and you can enhance your sensitivity. I think it's very good. And the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. And man gathering salt here may also symbolize all other human beings, those who are doing manual labor or those who are doing hard work or any kind of work. In fact, now we people are moving ahead in our careers, in our lives. We are mindlessly doing work. We are not thinking what it's doing to our body, what it's doing to our mindset, and how we are spoiling our health. And we are going on and on and on. So, what will happen? We will take a pause and we will look at our hands, or we will look at our consciousness, or we will look inside us, introspect. What have we done to ourselves? Now, those who prepare green wars. Now, who are the people who prepare green wars? The warmongers, those who encourage war. Okay, what types of war they're preparing? Green wars, wars against environment, or biological war, or the war we are talking about now. We are battling with the virus. It's also kind of war. And there is war with gas, war with fire. So there are different kinds of war which this warmongers and countries who want to become superpowers, they are encouraging this kind of wars. But what are they leading to? They are leading to a world where there's victory with no survivors. What happens? A war is really very harmful, and it does no good to anybody, neither the winners nor the losers. So war is always destructive. So he says, when the war is over, when everything is over, these people will sit with their brothers in shade. Shade means soothing kind of atmosphere, when you're peaceful, when you're silent. So they will sit with their brothers, means he might also have meant the soldiers of the army, when they will put on clean clothes, means the clothes will not be soiled by blood stains. So they will wear clean clothes and they will sit with the other soldiers or other people in harmony, in silence, in peace. Because when the soldiers they meet in a normal kind of atmosphere, they don't think of enmity, they don't think of killing each other. It's only the wars these people think in such conditions. Clean clothes might also mean new ideas. So if we are quiet, it will generate new ideas, new consciousness, new thinking. So this piece is definitely going to lead to very good things. And then he says, what I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what is about. I want no truck with death. If we were not so single minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. So the poet says, whatever I'm saying, that my suggestions should not be confused with death. Now, it's not the death like silence I'm talking about. It's not the silence of the graveyard. A person is inactive or he is totally lifeless when he dies. But right now, the silence which I'm suggesting is a positive kind of silence. It's not a passive kind of silence where you will analyze yourself and analyze the harms you're doing to others and the selfish motives which you're having. So the poet says that it is a constructive silence where you'll analyze yourself and where you'll realize your mistakes and move on to a better life. He's saying we are moving so single minded. We are so single minded about our purposes in life, about a focus of our career or maybe our achievements, or we are always thinking about one thing or the other. We finish one project and then we move to another project, and most of the time we don't take any pauses. Sometimes people don't even enjoy their wealth. They are not doing any recreation, simply they are going on and on and on. So the poet says perhaps it's time to pause and think, analyze, retrospect what you have done in the past. And when we think of all these things, it leads to sadness. And these moments of silence will take away the sadness from us because they will be regenerative. These moments will be constructive. How? Because we will understand ourselves and we will know, we will have a clear idea of what to do next, because all the time we are threatening ourselves with death. In the death, it means that we are doing all activities which are not healthy for us. Sometimes we are leading such a stressful life, and sometimes people are having many psychological disorders too, and depression and all that, due to overworking or never taking a pause. So the poet says let us take a pause, halt, analyze the thing, and then move forward in a positive way. And these moments will take away the sadness in our life. They will skip all the worries of our life if we take a halt. Perhaps the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Now I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. So the poet says, now perhaps you can learn some lessons from earth also. The earth, the nature around us always has some lessons to give us. Now when we sleep at night, everything we go to sleep, it's like death, and everything is dead. And when we get up in the morning, does everything die? No, not at all. Everything is renewed, everything is fresh. The sun comes up, new blades of grass. Now we see new flowers blooming. So, world becomes fresher in the morning and it regenerates. And similarly, in the winter time, when we see everything looks so inactive and so dead, death's sort of inactivity is there, everything is frozen and all those things. But what happens after the winter, in the springtime, the seeds which had gone under the earth, they turn into big trees, the flowers bloom up. Once again, the earth regenerates itself and rejuvenates itself. So, same way, the silence is going to do the same process for us also, and it is going to heal us, it's going to repair our lives and freshen up our lives. So, he says, now I'll count up to 12 and you all keep quiet and I will go. So, he says, my message is given. I've given you the message, and now I will leave and leave you with your thoughts, and whatever I have said, you ponder over it, think over it. So the poet counts till 12 and he leaves. So the real beauty of the poem is not about reading or listening to it, but what I personally feel is the ripples of thoughts that it creates in a consciousness that is more powerful. I wish that this poem and the silence all around acts like a panacea, a cure, a healing touch to all of us, so that when we return to our routines, we return with more vigor and more enthusiasm and more awareness. So I leave you with these thoughts. Thanks for listening. Happy soul searching.